Okay,
So
you're here now.
this is 24 hours of UX, and I don't even know which hour we are in. It's been going on for a while, and it's going to go on for a while. So there's over 40 talks, keynotes, and workshops happening in these 24 hours on June 9th and 10th. So welcome to it. The whole idea and spirit of 24 hours of UX is that it is not a central committee who decides who gets to talk, but rather it is grassroots local UX communities who propose a speaker or bring an interesting topic. And this is what we have this time around as well. So this hour, you will have actually 2 talks from UX Thailand. The first one will be convincing your boss to invest in UX. And the second one will be getting to warp speed with DesignOps. If you have any questions, then you can, on the right-hand side, you have a Q&A tab. You can type in there and we'll hopefully get to it. You can also upvote other questions if you find those interesting. What else do we have? And during the day, there are 2 main tracks. There's a practicing UX, which is more hands-on, and then elevating UX, which is more strategic. So you can narrow down, and in the schedule, you can find other topics that speak to you and are interesting. You can also get a reminder. If you click on a reminder, then you can put these sessions into the My Schedule tab, and then you can make sure not to miss anything. Without further ado, I will hand over to Nir at UX Thailand to do the introductions. Just a last thing that we will do the Q&A after the 2 talks are up, but you can already start typing the questions into the Q&A if you have any. And with that, I hand over, and I will be here, but I'll disappear from stage.
Okay, thank you, Peter, for introducing us to the 24 hours of UX. We are UX Thailand. Okay, let me know if you cannot see my screen. So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I don't know. For everyone, it's 6 p.m. right here, so we are just a little bit late, and we are ready to have a dinner and have a good sleep. My name is Nia. I am a product manager at Studio. We are EdTech company in Thailand, and I am also help run the UX Thailand community. We are, as you see in the screen, we are UX Thailand, a non-profit community of UX practitioners in Bangkok, in Thailand. We have been organizing monthly UX meetup for the past 3 years. We aim to share practices and knowledge and experience from UX people to everyone. We are also organizing the UX Thailand conference, an annual event that brings the world-class UX experts to Thailand and Southeast Asia. And this year going to be epic. We are going to have some kind of UX conference this year. So stay tuned for our conference by visiting our website and our Facebook fan page. Okay, we have 2 sections today. We have the first one is convincing your boss and stakeholders to invest in UX. Oftentimes, the value of this design is overlooked by business people who might not see the immediate effect on revenue. As head of design in startup company, Patarin will share her ways to convince businesses people to understand and invest more in UX design. And the second one, we have why aren't we involved? Sorry for the miscommunication. Because we didn't invest in DesignOps. So you might be familiar with the line from the Star Trek franchise. Why aren't we involved yet? Let's see what Gunnerbock all about in his talk. Chanon has implemented DesignOps processes for multiple clients in Thailand as a UX consultant. In this talk, he will explain why DesignOps is worth investing and how it can bring more happiness to the design process. So if you're ready, I'm gonna hand the spotlight to Patarin, who is ready to show you how to convincing your boss and the stakeholders to invest in your user experience. So, okay.
Thank you, Kanya. Okay, let me share my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you again for inviting me here. So hi everyone, and my name is Patarin Thongkhao, I'm currently the head of design at the Thai startup called knockknock.com. So today I would like to share with you of our approach on how we designers and UX practitioners at Knock Knock are experimenting with the teams to convincing the stakeholder to invest in the UX. Have you ever wondered, like, when business talks about the user experience, what do they actually mean? Because in Thailand, in my opinion, the UX landscape is considerably young compared to other continents like the US or the Europe. UX has been one of the buzzwords that has gotten popular in Thailand a few years ago. So what's the value that business expected we to bring to the table, and what's the real value that we are capable of contributing to the success of the organization? And the most importantly is, how can we demonstrate the value or impact that we are making to the stakeholders? It comes to how we measure the value, right? So somehow we need to demonstrate or prove our design challenges, the design changes that impact the bottom line, or what the company cares about. Ideally, we should frame the UX metrics into an ROI, such as the revenues, costs, or other key performance indicators that stakeholders related to in order to convey the monetary values UX brings about. So the UX metric often come from these 4 sources. But we can't just march to our boss and pitching these number and metrics to them. It actually takes time and effort to collect all the evidence to build a strong case. But what if we don't have the luxury of the times and resources to do? Because we still have a long list of backlog that need to be delivered at speed. Where should we start? So just take a step back and start to understanding the space that you are living. Where are you at? And what is your company setting look like? Do you guys work in a startup environment or in a big corporate that have a lot of bureaucracy and red tape? Or who are you? Are you an internal design team or a freelance or a consultant? You need to understand the as-is situations and how you fit into the organization in order to understand the structure, the flow, and the driving force behind it. So understand the businesses, who we are. Knock Knock is a vertical focused marketplace platform for home building and improvements. If you've ever done some sort of this type of project before, you probably know that it is an emotional and expensive exercises. So Knock Knock exists to help solving this problem. And we want to be the key driving force to make everyone in Southeast Asia's dream home possible. By using a platform as a catalyst to match the homeowner with service provider to promote trust, integrity, and reliability, and ultimately transform inefficient home building and renovation process, make it easier and more accessible. But in reality, Knock Knock is only a 2-year-old startup. If you have worked in a startup environment before, you probably understand the energy, the adrenaline rush when we are in the survival mode. Speed and time to impact is more important at this point in time. We are focusing on these numbers like GMV, the cost, user acquisitions, by using the value for money to bring the customer in. If we convincing them with the design return on investment, such as the simplicity and trusted, it might not work at this stage of the business. Secondly, how do you fit into the organization? Because our vision is big and extremely challenging, we have a lot of unknown ahead of us. We have no idea how we can create a worry-free purchasing experience for the product, like a home building material, right? Customers still prefer to touch and feel home furnishings, or they still need a consultant and expert to help them navigate through this painful journey. Our CEO and the pioneer teams know that a great user experience is everyone's responsibility, not only for the product or the design team. So we aiming to embed it the UX in the fabric of the organization as it's reflected in our company cost value. But we need to put it in practice and trying to foster these cultures through our daily interactions. So about teams, when we hiring or searching for someone, we are searching for a like-minded person who are passionate, eager to learn, and resilient. We value team fits more than a hard skill or the industry knowledge. So these are the main characteristic of the knock-knock people. So, but our team also has grown so fast as well. It has grown almost 3 times since I joined last year in 2020. We were only 4 designers since then, but now we have 13 designers and still growing. With these all contexts, it leads to main 2 challenges. First one is how might we escape this building trap and balancing short-term with the long-term values while achieving and tackling all the business challenges. The second is how might we keep this momentum and startup spirit going as we scale while building a culture and passion for our customer. So oftentimes the pressure to meet those numbers is destroy our long-term value. Our exponential growth came with a lot of shortcuts and sacrifice. We were stuck in the building trap for a while. The time that we only designing with and ship without testing or validating, do a small.
It seems like a trouble, but okay, เดี๋ยวต่อก็ได้ครับ แป๊บหนึ่ง
สู้ๆนะ
we're live now. Okay, we are back. Okay, cool.
Okay, which page are we in? Where we at? When did we lost?
It seems it was just, I think, like just a minute.
Okay.
It was just a minute.
Okay. Sure. Okay, just backward a little bit. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Okay, going back to the topic, right? Oftentimes the pressure to miss those numbers destroy our long-term values because our exponential growth came with a lot of shortcuts and sacrifice. We were stuck in the building trap for a while. The time that we only design and ship without testing or validating, do only a small improvement and manual work around processes. This does not only create a design and technical debt, but also affect the operation cost as well. So this is the one example that we were facing and still currently facing right now, as our data show that we had a high drop-off rate, meaning that user didn't add to cart for some reason. After the investigation, okay. After the investigation, we found that 40% of our customers said that the product information is not enough to making a decision. They are afraid to buy the wrong product. So they need to do more research by Googling or asking seller outside of our platform, which might lead to end up converting somewhere else. On the other hand, we also found that it is hard for a seller to input these product information into the system. There are tons of usability and performance issues, as 60% of the seller cannot successfully add product without supporting from our staff. From our point of view, this issue is pretty obvious, right? Both product and design team are well aware of this issue, and we know at the back of our heart that it needs to be redesigned in order to scale and moving forward, but it still got deprioritized and postponed for almost a year. But why did it happen? Because first of all, it is about usability issue and it doesn't have a direct impact on the GMV or the revenue, the key metric just we currently value. Second, it requires too much effort and time to implement. Third, the time to impact seem to be forever. So we were going back and forth about why we need to do it now. Why can't we just hire more people to help seller updating the product information instead? Why don't we use this time to build other features that have more direct impact on the revenue? So sometimes we forgot that at the end of the day, we are on the same team, driving towards the same goal. We're just looking from a different angle. As a business team, I'm more driven by the target KPIs and those number metrics. The product is prioritizing by concerning about the resource, effort, and impact. And the developer teams are focusing on the implement and the technical feasibility. So we ask ourselves that how can we, as a UX practitioner, bring everyone together and to create a shared understanding and alignment? How can we help the company moving from this stage of only focusing on the number metric to gradually shift and find a balance between a short-term and a long-term goals that we want to create? So we see ourselves as an enabler who can help business to find valuable insight, validating assumption, and design a lovable product, and also play a crucial role in fostering a customer-centric mindset and a culture through collaboration and communication. So going back to that case study of the adding product, it actually took us almost a year to finally convince the team to redesign the ad product. It was actually started as a secret project as one of our UX designer secretly researching, compiling all the findings, sketched the wireframing when the design and the idea is solid. So we start to plant the seed in our team by highlighting the impact on the customer experience, the long-term value that we want to create it, help them prioritize and cut it into a smaller scope that can be easier and faster to implement. But after we completed the all small requirement already, we still couldn't create the delightful experience that we expected. Everything required a foundation improvement. So now we need to build a case that why we need to do it now. So we did it by emphasizing the scalability and the possible features that we can build on if we fixing this now. The speed that we will get faster and faster if the fundamental is being fixed. However, the PM still not confident in the way or the direction that we are going. Is it worth it to do it now? Can we be postponed a little bit? So we actually conduct more research and interview with both customer and sellers. This was and the PM and the team also joined that session. So that was the tipping point where they bought in and approved. And now the design that we had long pushed for is in the development stage. So we actually did a reflection on how we did it. How did we convincing them to investing more in the long-term values? It's as simple as like building trust and alliance. We slowly gain that trust and making them see the value that we can bring and what we can contribute to the team's success. Slowly make them to buy in and be our alliance. We actually start from a small step by convincing our PI, the mini boss of the squad, because at now PM has the full autonomy to design on the development scope, timeline, and roadmap strategy. Basically, he or she is the person who has a verdict over our design solution, the timeline, and the scope that we will build. If we can get their buy-in and make them be our alliance, convincing other stakeholders will be easier because they will help us remove the roadblock, finding the resources and support that we need, including convince the upper level management as well. So when we discuss with the business team, the key is to speak in that language and tie it back to what they care the most, which is the return on investment, the impact, the priority, and the timeline. By emphasizing on the long-term value that we want to create it, but we also need to be transparent about our assumption, limitations, and challenges so they can be aware of and plan accordingly. Last but not least, the most important one is our developers, because they are the person who will make this happen and who will be enabler us to give the delightful experience that we want to achieve. As oftentimes developer might feel disengaged and don't understand the reason behind our direction and decision, we involve them to be part of the process and help us finding the solution together. By trying to embed the research as part of the design and development process. By involving the team since the beginning to understand the objectives, goal, are there any constraint or concern that they are facing? Do they have any idea or hypothesis in mind? So we can collaborate and plan the research together. Second, when we do a research, we start from a small, quick win, like doing a survey or a quick interview or a gorilla testing. And we also always inviting them to participate in that research session, especially a face-to-face one, because this is the easiest way and the most valuable way to get them to hear and see firsthand of what user thinks and how they react to our product. This helps reduce bias and focus more on the user. But if they cannot make and participate in those research sessions, just keep sharing, finding, and insight to start forming a feedback loop. So when we design, we often go beyond the scope and requirement, trying to think more holistically by designing the dream version, the version that we don't concern about any constraint or technical feasibility, and then we walk the team through the rationale behind this design decision, the expected outcome, both direct and indirect impact. By visualize it out, this will help the team to be on the same page to see the direction that we should or would like to go. Oftentimes, the team tends to lean toward the dream version more because they realize that some of the solutions are easy and don't take that much effort as they're afraid it might be. Last but not least, it comes to the negotiation part. We also need to work together with the product, business, and tech team to find the balance and define and prioritize the scope. While finding the balance between speed, resources, and impact, also achieving the business, technical feasibility, and user needs as well. Even if they didn't buy it at first hand or the design didn't make it through, at least we have tried our best, and most importantly, it is our responsibility to highlight the issue and consequences that they might be facing down the road. So just keep making a progress. It doesn't need to be perfect. So where we are now, we're probably at the stage 3 of this diagram. The UX start to get invested and become more part of our process more. So these are the phases behind all of this success. This designer that help evangelize the UX across the organization. To sum up, first, you need to start from you, your team, and your daily interaction. Second, you start to embed the UX into the process and bring everyone along. Third, just take a small quick win and make a progress. Fourth, use design artifact for a shared understanding. 5, finding a sweet spot between a short-term and long-term value. 6, be persistent but ready to compromise. Our team also wrote a blog about this issue, but it's in Thai, so you can scan this QR code to read more in Thai. Last but not least, may the UX be with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, what an impressive presentation. I really love
really awesome.
I really love the graphic. It looks like very cute to me.
And because we finished so early, and although I said that the Q&A will be after, but there's not a lot of questions. There's actually one question in the Q&A right now. And because we're still good with time, I thought that let's jump in and address that. And the question was, what is your favorite case study structure while presenting UX project? I'm guessing that, I don't know if the question refers to, specifically to like internally to business or even outside, but I think we all enjoyed your GIFs and illustrations and the style. So any structure in terms of UX case studies that you follow?
It didn't actually have a formal structure. It's just always start from the key findings. And as I mentioned, that we will basically design the two version, right? Just visualize all of the use cases, all of the dream flow, or all of the journey that we would like to achieve, and then cut with the team, discuss and spot on all the blind spot and then finding the solution together. That's it. Answer your questions.
I hope I didn't ask the question specifically. Okay, the person specified. I mean, presenting UX project in portfolio website or in UX interview. So okay, so that it's not internally at the business, but when presenting in your portfolio or interview.
Mm-hmm. I think it's pretty like everyone else. First, start from the problem space or the challenges or the key challenges that you want to tackle, and then what are the key support research finding that will help you inform your design, and then the design and also the result that you want to achieve.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And then a last one, which we'll get now, is how do you go about gathering the data that you need to make decisions as a UX designer? So I'm guessing, the UX research that you do, where do you start?
Mm-hmm. We often start from some sort of heuristic study first, and the benchmark study, competitive analysis. We also trying to find the existing data that we have been collected, either it's from heat map or the data, our database, and also asking around the team, like who have that kind of information, asking them for more information, and do the relevant research to answer all of that issue that we want to achieve.
I really love, I said this is the last one, but this one really is the last one, but I love it because it's so specific. You mentioned that it's a secret project that you did, like a side project, and they're asking, do you guys spend after work hours on it or sneak it into daily work?
Both. We actually sneak it into our daily work as well, and also do it in outside of the daily office time, because she didn't because we have like around like 13 designers, and we set it in a squad, like 2 designers looking into the customer side and 4 designers look into the back end side. We also keep updating about what we have found from both perspectives, and then discuss more about how it should be. So because our working time is really flexible, and we didn't check the clock, or we have, so it depends on as long as we still deliver everything on time, everything is fine.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So if you still have questions, and there are still a few questions in the Q&A, we will get to those at the end. And I would then propose that we go to the next topic, because this was the first one, convincing your boss to invest in UX. And the next one will be get to warp speed with DesignOps.